Guys, so now we are at the second part of the video, and then we are at the Klis Fortress, and a local guide will join us in a few moments to explain you and show us some good things here. Okay, so we are with Philip, local guide, and he's wearing like we call a Uskok suit, so he will introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Philip. I'm a member of the historical unit Klis Fortress, and this is a traditional uniform from the 16th century. So the Uskoks were the people who fight against the Ottoman Turks in this fortress for 25 years. There was a siege that lasted 25 years, but not all together, because there was season of the warfare. So that was between, let's say, spring and the autumn, and a season where the Turks will get him back and try to recuperate for the next year of raiding. Now we are cherishing that tradition, and we are not just the people who are wearing the outfit of the Klis Fortress. We are also doing the traditional martial arts. So we are learning how to fight with the long swords, and I must say we are pretty good about that. We also do traditional archery and the archery with the sport bow for the tourists. So it is not just to present yourself as, let's say, a statue. Is to live the life of the Klis Fortress.
In fact, you are still protecting the house.
Yeah, we're still protecting.
Okay.
Can you tell me more about the Klis Fortress and how they defended the fortress?
Well, the Klis Fortress, as the word Uskok say in Croatia, that means like to jump in the middle of something. So it was a time when the Turks were attacking. So Peter Krujic, who was the leader of the Klis Fortress, he adopted some kind of the tactic of the Ottoman raiders. So what he did is he actually used the light cavalry to sudden raids, and they want to go in the midst of the Ottoman army when they didn't expect, and do mayhem from the inside to the outside. So the thing is that if they do that, they wouldn't board the armors, because they rely on their speed and agility. They try to do as much damage as possible and then just vanish in the thin air before the Turks even realized what was happening.
Okay. What kind of weapons and tactics did the Klis Fortress use?
Well, the Klis Fortress were using lots of weapons. So the weapons that is used by the Klis Fortress range from the weapon firearms to the weapon that you see traditionally, let's say, in the movies. So the sword, the sabers, war hammers, and so on. So what I have here is the long sword that is actually what we will say German longsword, and it will be used in the time of the Ottoman Turks on this fortress. So this is the sword that you don't use a shield when you're fighting with this sword, because this is your defending and your attacking weapon. So every part of the sword is also a weapon. So you have a blade that is sharpened on the both sides for slashing, you have a tip for stabbing. So what you see in the movies where somebody attacks at you, you're wearing the armor, and the soldiers go through the armor, that is virtually impossible. So the armors are actually meant to stop the blow from the sword. So when you try to break the armor, you are actually breaking the armor with a crossguard, with these pillions. So the thing is, when you are fighting against the person who doesn't wear the armor, then you do what they do in the movies. When you're fighting with the armor, it's half-swording or half-schwert. So you're fighting in some different style. So from here you go to there, and you try to go through the armor with this. Now every part of the sword, as I said, is a weapon. So the pommel is also one kind of the weapon. So primarily used for the pommel is to have a balance of the sword. But when you're fighting with this, you are in close combat, and then you're actually getting with the pommel. Also, what we have here is something that the Uskoks will do when they are on the horseback. So this is a Dalmatian hussar saber. So this kind of the weapon is also very useful. So you're slashing in the wide arc from the horse, from this side or from this side. So the wounds from this weapon can be extraordinary, because it's not like with a sword. With a sword you have to just cut, slash. With this you're always connecting with the body of the opponent. So it is one big continuous slash. So this sword also has a crossguard, and it has these that is actually fitting in the scabbard, but you can try to trap somebody's sword when you slide in on the flat of the sword and try to get him out of the hand. So very useful weapons. So it is actually the thing to say that when the Uskok were under the Austria, so because this is they're like under the Austrian court, they actually didn't have a much, they didn't get much, let's say, payment for what they do, but they have a, let's say, a first-grade quality of the weapon that they are using against the Ottoman Turks.
How was the condition of the broadcasting of Game of Thrones when they come to make just take the view and maybe plan where the broadcast will be, and how was it?
Yeah. Okay. So when the Game of Thrones came here first, I think it was 2013. It was actually the race between this fortress and the fortress of Klis, which will be the, let's say, marine. So, well, don't get me at the face value of this, but I actually heard it from the guy who was in charge of the transport. So it was actually how they choose what fortress to use was the time that will get to travel from the fortress to the hotel. So it is the thing that you just put the pedal to the metal and try to race to the hotel, and which location actually have a better response to that location would be marine. So we have the hotel hub just near the splits, so it took him less than 45 minutes, but in Klis there is not so much of hotels, so it took it much longer, so that's why this was actually choose for the marine. But also the second thing is that this fortress actually have a great view on the seaside. Marine is on the seaside, so they actually do CGI, lots of CGI, but not as much of CGI that actually they will be doing if they were in Klis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maybe just one more question about the ecologic responsibilities of the place, and maybe how do you try to at the same time promote the history about the place, and at the same time, you know, protect the biodiversity, the nature about Klis and about the Dalmatia coast in general.
Yeah. So in the Croatia, for example, in this fortress of Klis, we have lots of endemic species that are just growing inside the fortress. So that's why, for example, you will see there are lots of let's say grasses that is protruding from the stone, which is, by the way, is not very good for the fortress, because if the roots are in there, it just keep the moisture in. It will, the roots will getting a little bit bigger, and also in the time of the winter, that water that is accumulated can actually turn to ice and then just push the stones out. So it is always a little bit of, let's say, walking on the eggs, what to do, because those endemic species should be conservated, but it can be potentially dangerous to the fortress. So also that is the thing with the whole Dalmatia today, because Dalmatia is from the last few years like a boom in the tourism, and there is lots of tourists that came here. They are not aware of that biodiversity that is on the coast of Dalmatia. So there is also always something that we try to undo the damage, let's say, after the season, and try to prevent and prepare ourselves before the season to get as smaller damage as possible to those species.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.